ladies and gentlemen. What I hope you're looking at right now is the project outline for chapters 11 and 12. What I need from you on your outline form that's due tomorrow, Tuesday, is your names up on the right-hand corner, up here, the president's name, and then two problems that he's encountering while president at home. All right, those can be two problems that are happening here at home. And two problems that happened away from home, that means not here in the United States, that causes other nations to look at us in a different way. All right, so you're going to do that for President A, right on through, to President letter E. All right, and then lastly, what I'd like you to do is list out and tell me how your group is going to present the information. All right, that's the first part I need from you. The second part that I need from you is, let me pull it up here. It's here somewhere on the bottom of the screen. There it is. This is not stuff I need from you, but this is what I went over with you guys in class today. Chapter 11, 12 project. Today's day 1, and it's on George Washington. A few of the items in the book that I need you to understand and remember is, first off, his foreign policy was on isolationism. In other words, he wanted to remain neutral. We talked in class about the reasons why behind that, and one of the reasons why is think about the opposite of being isolated or neutral, and that's what we are today. And part of the problem with that is our debt today for being in war. All right. Second thing we talked about was the excise tax. That's a tax on products or production of a product. All right, that Washington and Congress passed to bring money into the Treasury. Third thing we talked about in class was the cabinet. There are 3 cabinet members at this time in Washington's presidency. Today we have no idea how many secretaries there are. But during Washington's presidency, there was a Secretary of State, Secretary of Treasury, and Secretary of War. You should know who all 3 of those gentlemen are. And lastly, on this first slide was Jay's Treaty. Washington and Congress wanted the British out of the Ohio River Valley. They had promised to do that after the Revolutionary War, but it still had not been done. The other item that happened at home during Washington's presidency was the Whiskey Rebellion. And we talked about how you can reflect back to Shays' Rebellion, and it's the same concept where, in this case, we have not people repossessing property, but the farmers in the West not wanting to ship their wheat and grain over the mountains to the East Coast to be shipped, were changing their grains into whiskey and then shipping the bottles of whiskey east. And the farmers were being taxed on this product. Think about the excise tax on the last slide. Farmers were being taxed on this stuff, and they were refusing to pay the tax. Washington was convinced by his army pal from the Revolutionary War, Alexander Hamilton, to take the army and squash the rebellion. So picture it, if you will, of Washington riding on his horse in front of 13,000 troops west to tell people that they needed to pay their taxes. A little bit frightening. We talked about how Jefferson, remember, the guy who doesn't like the way Hamilton thinks, Jefferson's not happy about that, and he worries about how government's using force to make sure people are paying their taxes. All right, and that causes more of a rift between Hamilton and Jefferson. Finally, Washington's farewell address. There are 4 things that are mentioned. I told you you can find the other 2 in the Green Book. The first 2 are, Washington mentioned that he thought we should not have political parties. It's okay to disagree with one another, but to form a group of disagreeers would only end up in gridlock. Sound familiar? And the other thing that he asked, one of the other 4 things, was to not leave a debt to the next generation. How about that? All right, there are 2 more I want you to find in your book, and that's it for today's brief look at Washington. You have the rest of the period to work on your projects.